This is Democracy Watch. So, Mark, Trump-allied lawyers Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, among others, just got hit with some bad news from the U.S. Supreme Court. What happened here?
So the U.S. Supreme Court refused to undo the sanctions that were imposed on them for their crazy lawsuit in just one state, in Michigan, in 2020, which the judge called, quote, a historic and profound abuse of the judicial process. I only wish that judge had an opportunity to see the historic and profound abuses of the judicial process that took place in other states like Georgia as well.
Well, Mark, is this to suggest perhaps that Hugo Chavez was not swapping out ballots in the 2020 election? Is that the implication here?
All right. I mean, there's a lot of implications here. Okay. Number one, Hugo Chavez was not involved in rigging the election when he was dead already. But it also means no mythical sea creatures, the Kraken.
Yeah.
Remember she was going to release the Kraken.
Oh, yeah.
Kraken, there was no mythical sea creatures.
We had Chinese bamboo fibers.
We did not have the Chinese bamboo fibers. The special ops forces guy that they had the secret information from, apparently he wasn't a secret ops guy. Like, the whole thing doesn't appear to have been on the up and up.
Yeah, shocker there. Okay, so what do these sanctions now consist of that these Trump lawyers, including Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood, are contending with?
So in all seriousness, this is one of the concerns I have about this, because they're not that, they're serious, but they're not serious enough in my view. It's $150,000 in legal fees. They have to undergo some legal training, and they were referred to their respective bar associations. Now, that may sound like a lot to people out there, but what they did, despite all of the joking that you and I are doing about this, what they did was they injected into the psyche of America at a time that was very vulnerable in the post-election period, between Election Day 2020 and January 6, 2021. They injected a lot of vile, false information, conspiracy theories, efforts. You may remember Sidney Powell, Donald Trump wanted to make her a special prosecutor, to have government power. There was a lot of bad stuff happening. And I know the judge here could only sanction for the one case before them, which was the Michigan case. But, it is now these bar associations need to move quickly. They need to move swiftly, and they need to take really, really aggressive action. It is already 2024. And we're now going to be facing another election.
Are there other states aside from Michigan where they could be facing sanctions?
Absolutely. I mean, Lynn Wood, everyone remembers Sidney Powell because she was going to unleash the Kraken, and she was the Donald Trump whisperer and was also standing next to Rudy Giuliani as he was perspiring hair god. He was like melting, literally, like you'd be like, oh my God, he may be melting.
Yeah.
But in any event, you remember her for that. But Lynn Wood actually already got sanctioned by the bar and turned in his law license in Georgia, which is where he's based, rather than face formal disbarment. So Lynn Wood, no longer practicing lawyer in Georgia. Some of his pleadings were even crazier. I know this is a low bar, even crazier than some of Sidney Powell's. Obviously, in Michigan, they were both involved.
Well, what do sanctions like this do for the ability of any of these lawyers to continue practicing law? Like, is this kind of thing usual, or is it a scarlet letter for these lawyers? So
this is what is so troubling about what Donald Trump has done to the legal profession. It once was that if you got sanctioned, even if you didn't get disbarred, you just got sanctioned, that was career ending. Now you become a celebrity in the Trump world.
Yeah.
You're out there selling Trump steaks or water or whatever, you're like standing next to the parking garage lady, Parking garage lawyer is like literally, I may not be a good lawyer, but I'm on TV.
Yeah.
Right. So like, he has elevated bad lawyering, unethical lawyering into celebrity status on the right. Look at John Eastman, for example. Look at some of the other fake electors. He is turning these insurrectionists and these fake electors and these sanctioned lawyers into heroes. And so I worry that the Scarlet Letter, the damage that is intended to be conveyed when a lawyer is disbarred or is even just sanctioned, that is actually dissipating.
Yeah. I mean, it really, I mean, like to underscore the danger here, it's kind of like if a doctor gets hit with enough malpractice lawsuits, they become more famous on the right. More people want to hire them. I mean, if the danger isn't like inherent in something like that, I don't know what else would better show that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, look at John Eastman, look at Jeffrey Clark. You know, these are two lawyers. John Eastman was the creator of the fake electors theory. He is indicted. He was indicted in Georgia, and pled guilty, as I recall, in the Georgia case. He was hired after that by the Colorado Republican Party to litigate a case.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Clark was the lawyer at the Department of Justice who was like some sort of like EPA specialist or something, who wanted to commandeer the Department of Justice to send letters to states and make false claims, and who Donald Trump wanted to make the acting attorney general. He's now, viewed as, the potential AG candidate under
Right.
future Trump administration.
Yeah. And of course, for people watching right now, Mark has written extensively about the John Eastmans and Jeffrey Clarks of the world in Democracy Docket. It's the free news outlet he founded to focus on everything voting and elections. If you're not yet signed up, again, it's free to sign up. I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. It's an amazing resource. I use it on a daily basis. Mark, do you think the fact that even a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court, the fact that they're not willing to swoop in and save Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood and these other election subverters, is that going to have an impact on other attorneys who may be looking to do the same thing in 2024?
So I think it depends. I think it depends. And I think that for some lawyers on the right, it will. For some lawyers on the right, they are going to be worried that they could be sanctioned, that they could be disbarred, they could be subject to bar proceedings, and that will be enough to dissuade them. But there is always, as we have learned with Donald Trump, there is always another group behind them who is willing to push further and further and further, and to celebrate pushing further and further and further. And in some ways, it makes my job as a courtroom lawyer easier as their lawyers get worse and crazier.
Yeah.
But it subverts democracy, and it raises the stakes for the 2024 elections higher and higher when more irresponsible people, including irresponsible lawyers, get more and more authority and power in his orbit. Because as much as you and I can joke about the Kraken and all the rest of it, how close did Sidney Powell come from actually having the authority of the United States government? How close did Jeffrey Clark come to actually being the acting attorney general? How close did Kash Patel, another lawyer, I might add, how close did he come to being put in a position in control of our national security apparatus, right? Each of those things were all in play in that period of time after 2020. And as we head towards 2024, anyone who thinks that the stakes are not enormous, anyone who thinks this is just about some disbarred lawyers or some old cases from 2020, they are missing the forest from the trees. Donald Trump wants to bring these kinds of lawyers into government because he wants to bring these kinds of people into government.
Perfectly put. Let's finish off with this. Can you give kind of a comprehensive rundown of what the outlook has been for Donald Trump's whole slew of attorneys these last few years?
So, I mean, look, they've had a rough go of it, right? I mean, you have Jenna Ellis, who obviously was Jenna Ellis, interestingly, seems to be the most contrite among them.
Yeah.
I give her that. Like, she seems to have some genuine contrition.
Well, there may be something. There may have been something for her while standing in front of the judge in that Georgia courtroom where suddenly the reality of her life dawned on her in that moment.
Yeah. And then we have other lawyers who have been indicted in Georgia, along with her. She showed contrition as part of her plea. We saw varying degrees of contrition among others. We have seen Republican lawyers ensnarled in the fake electors criminal cases. Probably, though, the one that I think will stick with history the longest is what happened with Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani went from being a very successful big city mayor, the mayor of New York, viewed as a hero of 9/11, and through his association with Donald Trump, and only through his association with Donald Trump, he ruined his career. He ruined his legal career. He is now in financial tatters, having declared bankruptcy. And he is a laughingstock among all of the people who once admired him. And my message to the lawyers who are working for Donald Trump now is this: Donald Trump is not standing by Rudy Giuliani. Donald Trump has washed his hands of Rudy Giuliani. So Rudy Giuliani, who made himself an object of ridicule and disgust in the American public, and who gave everything, his livelihood, his reputation, everything to Donald Trump, got repaid by Donald Trump walking away from him.
That's exactly right. Mark, you should also know, in my childhood bedroom, I have a signed photo of Rudy Giuliani and Joe Torre standing atop the rubble on 9/11. I mean, to your exact point, he was like a hero after that. And just to see his fall from grace is not only, is not only sad for him, but for all of these other people who will continue to line up behind Donald Trump, knowing what he does to the people who kind of contract all of their dignity to the guy. Like, everybody thinks that they're going to be special, that it's never going to happen to them. All of you, every single one of you, will end up under the bus at some point, just like all of the people who've come before you.
Absolutely. And couldn't you have been a normal kid and had like Derek Jeter or Eli Manning on your wall?
Look where I ended up. Could I have been a normal kid? Look where I ended up. All right. Well, with that said, for those watching right now, again, to support the work that Mark and his team do, please sign up for Democracy Docket. I'll put the link right here on this screen and also in the post description of this video. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Marc Elias.
This is Democracy Watch.